What is up? Welcome back to It's Lit Book Reviews, the podcast where we discuss all things books. And if you're listening audio only, that was Andrew loudly drinking out of his big old,
As
what
soon
do they
as I
call him?
press record. Gullet?
Tervis? Stanley.
Oh,
Anyways, I'm
nah,
Diocletian. With me, as
shareable.
always, is Trajan, and we are here to do yet another one on the podcast where we discuss all things books. We're going to discuss a few books today. We've never on this channel talked about historical fiction before, to my knowledge. Wait, have we? I don't think we have, because I think
No
these are
way,
the
no
first ones I've
chance.
really read. Um,
Same.
so we're dabbling a bit here. We usually read either fantasy, sci-fi, or straight up nonfiction. Biographies or just nonfiction. And we've been trying to diversify some this year. I think we've done well so
Yeah,
far, and
I agree.
we're going to get into some historical fiction here. So, where do you want to begin, brother? We got some good
I
ones.
say we start with the one we both read
All
together.
right, let's do it. So that's
So,
Glorious Exploits then.
mhm.
You read this one first. I think did you just randomly find this book online somewhere?
Dude, it was on Goodreads. You know how Goodreads will, at least Goodreads, if you go to Discover and like if you read something random, it'll like try and recommend something to you, which
Yeah.
normally is not. And I think it was actually maybe in like things that are people are reading now or something, and I saw just the cover of I'll have the cover up right now. It's a very eye catching cover with like a sculpture, an ancient sculpture with like googly eyes on it. So I was like,
Yeah.
what the heck is that? So I read the premise and I was like, all right. I mean, it seemed decently popular. I think it came out last year. And I can't remember what I was reading. I think we maybe read like two nonfictions. I think it was maybe after Andrew Jackson. I can't remember. I was kind of like just needing something quick, like just a thick, like just a nice little palate cleanser. And I saw it wasn't very long. And so I downloaded it and I was just going to test it out. And I like quickly read like 100 pages, like in a night. Like,
Yeah.
and it was very fast paced. So I think I read this in like 2 or 3 settings, honestly. I read it in like 2 days. And it ended up being
Yeah.
like my best. I think in our last video, I think I put it as like the biggest surprise for me because I didn't know anything about it, and it
Yeah.
was anyway. It was solid, and I
Yeah,
can't
I
disagree.
agree. I agree. So yeah, Glorious Exploits, Ferdia Lennon came out in 2024, so fairly new book, 14,000 ratings with a 4.15 out of 5 stars on the old Goodreads. So yeah, I read it later. I bought it like a few weeks after you read it. You said it was really good, a quick read. And then I just randomly read it a couple weeks after that. I remember hitting you up and like, yo, by the way, I started this. And
Yeah,
yeah, I read it in 2 days. It was an easy read. It was a
yeah.
good time. Um, so yeah, no regrets for sure. And I can't
I feel
even
like it'd be a
remember
great vacation book. Like if you're at the beach for a week, or not a
for
week.
sure.
Jake referenced like, oh, you need a full 5 days PTO. I can't remember if it was you or him a couple videos ago. I was like, that's a good way to
Yeah,
like
right.
recommend a book. Like this is like a weekend. You could easily knock this book
Yeah,
out in a weekend. You
for
know?
sure. Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm trying to remember if I read this one first or the other book we're going to discuss. But either way, this is a historical fiction book in an ancient history setting, in Syracuse. I'm trying to remember which was it, the Peloponnesian Wars? What was that? The
Yeah, it's
setting?
one of them.
Can't even
Maybe the
quite
second
remember.
one. Yeah,
Um, but
ancient Greece for sure, though.
Yeah, so you're in Syracuse, and the story is from the perspective of some Syracusans who were there after, this is the aftermath of a major battle, and there's a bunch of Athenian prisoners basically of war that are just stranded on the beach, and this crazy story ensues. I didn't really know what to expect. I kind of read what it was about,
Yeah,
but I was kind of just getting into it for the vibes because you had really hyped it up, and I was like, okay. And yeah, I mean, it ended up being really, really good. I mean, what is there to say about this one? I feel like I don't want to say like too many things because I'm going to spoil it, but it's really good. Like, I think the best thing you can say about it is it's a good weekend read. It's like super light and then kind of not. So
at the
it
very
hits,
end, yeah.
yeah, it hits a wide spectrum of emotions. I feel like,
Well, the tone is it's one POV the whole time, which normally I don't know if I don't know. I don't know if I have a strong opinion about that, but this was done really well. The character that you get the full story from is a very lackadaisical, like joking around character. So he makes it lighthearted, even though it's like a lot of things that are happening that are kind of dark and serious. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm not huge into plays, like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Play
which
is a
that's what this is about.
massive, plot point here.
I
Yeah.
mean,
They're
it's
putting a play
them,
together.
yeah, putting a play together with slaves. So it's like that does sound interesting. It's like not that that's not interesting, but it ends up being really solid. Lampo is the narrator. He's like kind of the funny guy, and then his buddy is the one putting on the play who's more serious. And I mean, yeah, dude, especially
Yeah.
the ending, like it kind of goes on like off on a twist, kind of at the end. Not a
Yeah.
twist, but like on a little adventure at the end. That
Yeah. The stuff with that new character that you get introduced to, it
oh
gets
yeah,
it gets super wildish, and it's really engaging. Like when I read it, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I don't even know if we said that, so it's not like the best book I've ever read, but I couldn't really put it down. Like I said, I read it in two
yeah, it's a
days.
quick read.
Like just ripped through it. It's a very engaging book. So yeah, I
Yeah,
liked it a lot.
yeah, same. I mean, it's definitely. I feel like the pacing's pretty fast, and
Yeah,
it's funny. It's like definitely written
yeah, it
in
is.
a comedic style. So it's not. But then I guess that's what they do, dude. People who like have like a comedic style, I feel like it's classic for them to hit you with like a little truth bomb,
Some
not truth bomb, but
tragedy.
like, oh yeah, at the end,
Yeah,
just come for the heart because it's always that character who's not whimsical, but the guy who doesn't take anything serious that ends up having to
yeah,
take something serious,
yeah.
and
And there definitely is like an air of whimsy to the book, especially with him being the POV character.
yeah,
But it's also got that like ancient or maybe Shakespearean vibe of it having comedic moments, but being pretty tragic when it's all said and done overall. So yeah, it's a
100%.
really good read, man. It definitely
Yeah,
surprised me as well. Um, so yeah, I would definitely recommend this one. But that brings me. So I did
same.
read this one right after the other one, which I
Okay.
read. And since I read this one further back, I'll just say so. Augustus by John Williams. John Williams is a very well known American classic author. So I feel like I'm pretty sure he's most well known for Stoner, which is a book I've read by him about a dude named John Stoner, and it's an
Which you
amazing
loved,
book.
right? Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing, and there's nothing really to say about that book. I feel like, at least to me, because I'm not smart enough, I can't really say much about it. Stoner, I'm talking about, without really underselling it and not getting the point across, like what the purpose of the book is. So you just have to read it if you haven't. Stoner by John Williams is amazing, but Augustus is, from what I've read, his most critically acclaimed book. So this came out in 1972. It's got under 20,000 ratings on Goodreads with a 4.25 out of 5 stars. I give it 5 stars. So I read this one and then read Glorious Exploits. So that kind of brings back the memory that that's why I read Glorious Exploits, because I enjoyed Augustus so much. I was like, let me get some more ancient historical
Yeah.
fiction.
But they
And
don't
what's
read
great
the
about
same, do
this
they?
one, no, not at all. So this is totally different. And for me, we had just read an actual historical biography on Augustus, the Emperor
Yeah.
of Rome. And this historical fiction is about his life, essentially. And the term, I just learned this term today, and I've got to go back through my notes to find it, but this is a ex dude no epistolary format, which essentially means
Yeah.
it's being told through like letters, government
Ah.
documents,
Okay. I didn't know that.
memoirs, and things like that. So it's not really a narrative with POVs. And then really, and
Is it
it's
kind of
from
like
people like
Dracula?
Agrippa. Yeah, it's
You know
kind
how
of like
Dracula's
Dracula.
like okay.
Kinda. But it's that kind of thing where you're getting different perspectives, but also in different mediums.
Mm,
The book starts
okay.
out, I believe, with the memoirs of Agrippa, and then
Mm,
you get letters from Cicero throughout the book, and then the final part of the book, the last chapter, which is by far the longest chapter of the book, is all Augustus, in a letter that he wrote to a friend late in life. So it's really cool just in the way the book is laid out, but especially for me, having just read a biography on Augustus and being really into ancient history, dude, I just ate this one up. The writing is definitely a lot different from Glorious Exploits. Again, John Williams is, older, considered an American classic author. So his writing style is very distinct. It very much reminded me of Stoner, just in its kind of, I don't know if bluntness is the right word, but I don't know, man. He gets things across so well, and again, in an engaging way. And I overuse that word, but it just was. It was
Is
just
this a more
very
serious
entertaining.
tone though?
Yeah, definitely a more serious tone because
Okay.
it's historical fiction, but he's not really taking. And he even says in his introduction, he does take some liberties with what actually happened in order to just have a slightly better narrative, if you will.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like he's not just pulling stuff out of his ass. Like he's sticking to a lot of traditional understanding of the life of Augustus, but he's just putting this fictional spin on it. And all he's really doing with that is providing sources that we don't have. So you can almost read it as if it's actual sources we have because he's not writing it in a he's writing it in that type of way. Again, it's as if it's a letter written by Cicero or a memoir by Agrippa. So
Yeah.
it's really good, man. And it's again like Stoner, the writing is just so clever and he's just great, man. I'm not again not smart enough to explain what makes great writing, but his books are considered classics and critically acclaimed for a reason. So
Yeah.
I would highly recommend this. I did obviously I gave it 5 stars, gave Glorious Exploits 4. So obviously, I think Augustus is better. I think Glorious Exploits is probably a little more approachable. I don't think you
Yeah.
need to know about Augustus to enjoy it, but again, it is written a little differently than maybe some people are looking for. But I would highly recommend it still, especially if you're into any type of ancient history, or if you want to be, but you want to get your feet wet with historical fiction that can kind of pepper some truths here and there, or myths that you'll be familiar with
It's a
in ancient
shorter book
history.
too, right?
Yeah, I mean it's
Glorious Exports is maybe like 3 something, I feel
yeah,
like,
this
just
is
off the top of my head.
336. So,
Okay, roughly
you
the
know,
same,
under
probably.
350. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about John Williams. I've only read those 2 books, Stoner and Augustus, but I have another one and I'm sure it's
I do
amazing,
wanna
so
read
I'd
both
highly
of
recommend
those.
him.
I've
Yeah, you've
heard
got
I've heard
to.
about him so much now to where I'm like, I do think, because I get nervous, dude, when you see, the whole classics thing always makes me nervous because it's like, all right,
Right.
is this good and it's only in its era? But the way you've talked about it, because dude, like the Sirens of Titan is a dagger for me, but I could see where it would
Yeah,
be really good in its time. Like, you know what I mean? In its time, I could see where
sure.
it'd be like, oh my God, this is
Yeah,
mind blowing. And the same for like Lord of the Rings. Like Lord of the Rings, you kind of
right.
have to realize when it was written. But to hear you talk about this book, which came out in '73, and for it to still hit, I feel like
Yeah.
that's a good sign.
Dude,
Like that it
and
holds
that's
up.
honestly a good way to put it, dude. Stoner and Augustus are timeless for sure.
Really. Okay.
Yeah, in my opinion.
All right. Yeah. Those are sometimes, dude, when I see those two, it feels, and I mean, this is not a shot at Glorious Exploits because I liked it, but I don't know. I feel like it almost is more of a not a flex, but it's like, oh yeah, I read some John Williams. It's like, oh, I'm like reading real literature. Like when I
Right.
hear like that just sounds like something that would be,
Well, it's just stood the test of time. It has
yeah,
that classic, tag to it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So two totally different nonfiction kind of styles, I would say, but both
Historical
enjoyable
fiction, but yeah,
historical. What did I say?
nonfiction. Yeah, you're close.
Dude,
It's historical fiction.
I was, this is, I don't want to derail everything, but bro, me trying to say fictional the other day
Yeah.
was bad,
I
dude.
mean,
That was bad.
I
That
mean,
was really bad. Anyway, but
dude, we
to
should have a live count just up in the corner of all our videos of your brain cell count just slowly dropping
I
for every
mean,
video we release.
started started taking some vitamins really just to help the brain. It's crazy with how much I read and it feels like I'm declining. It's like what would be happening if I wasn't reading?
I know,
But
right? That's so true. Uh,
but
same.
so anyway, so you read Augustus, we read Glorious Exploits together. I recently read, and again, just forgive me, everyone out there, because this one's going to take a shot at my pride. This title is one of the worst titles I've ever had to endure.
Mhm.
But this book actually, I wanted to rate this book 4 stars, but to me, again, it's so tough because I mean, if a book's like moderately good, I rate it 5 stars. I feel like, I mean, it's so tough for me because it feels. This is a total like side topic that we could discuss every episode, but I feel bad, bro, when you read a book and it's like, man, that was a good book. It like feels bad to rate it just a 4. You know what I mean? For
It
some
feels bad,
reason,
and it also feels like kind of pretentious most of the time to give
yeah,
anything less than a 3. It's like, oh, like
yeah,
unless it's just blatantly terrible, which I do have my
yes,
2 stars out there. But dude, it's otherwise it's like, bro, I've never written a book. I couldn't do this.
Yeah.
Like, you
But
know
we
what I
even
mean?
rate the terrible books like a 2 or a 3. That's the thing, I'm
Yeah,
still
which
not
they
putting
should
a
be a
1.
one, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, to get to the book I read is Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr. And my mom bought this book a long time ago because she read All the Light We Cannot See, I think is the title of it, which she won a Pulitzer Prize for. And I've heard good things about, which is another historical fiction. But this is definitely historical fiction with a little twist. It's got a little sci-fi in it, um, slight mystery, but it is a little longer. It seems too, I know I was telling you a little bit about this. It seems like either people rate it like a 1 star or a 5 star. There's like very few
Hmm.
people that rate it like in the middle. I will say the reason why I think it hit for me, there are 5 different POVs in this story. And so coming from fantasy, that's not like I could easily handle that, but I could see
Right.
where I was talking to Riley, my girlfriend, about like she mostly reads Frida McFadden. It's usually like a 2 to 3 max, whereas she's
Hmm.
reading this book and she's been struggling. And I think it's just because it's a lot. And so the
Yeah.
way it's broken down is there's one POV that's in the future. Um, there's 2 POVs that are kind of modern day times in the 2020s, but then it goes to their backstory. So like in the 90s and then in the 50s. And then there's 2 people that are in 1453 in Constantinople. And so it's Constantinople getting invaded by, I guess, the Ottomans or some Ottoman Empire, Muslim Empire, some sultans kind of crushing through. So I mean, it was a cool story. It's really well done. I will say, like Anthony Doerr clearly is, and I feel like maybe this is kind of something you'd relate to with John Williams. It's like he's clearly like a real author. Like his like prose, like I guess because sometimes people be like, well, the prose in fantasy just aren't very good, or like it's just simple or whatever. His
Hmm.
were solid. So I mean, even if a lot's not happening at some point, like the way he writes is just so clever and very well thought out. But essentially all 3 of these timelines are connected by a ancient Greek manuscript of this story, which is written by a real person. Antonius Diogenes is the guy, but he made up the story that they're all following. But essentially, it kind of goes back and forth between all the timelines, and they're all connected with this. And there ends up being kind of a sci-fi twist at the end. But overall, man, it was really good. I didn't really know what to expect. Again, the title is that's what the name of the story is. The ancient Greek text is Cloud Cuckoo Land. So I guess he had to name it that, but it's like he made that story up. He could have named it anything. I don't know
Is
why
that
he
word
named it that.
cuckoo?
Cuckoo. I mean, I just don't like saying that, dude. You know what I mean? I really don't
That
enjoy
was
just
too easy.
yeah, that hard. That's a hard sound in there that doesn't make me feel good. But anyway, it seems like the only negative, like I would recommend this to people, but it seems like a lot of the negativity is if you're used to more of a straightforward storyline, you maybe wouldn't like this. And it is a little slower paced, especially in the beginning. The first half um, is a little slower, but the second half is solid. I will say the modern day like POVs are really good. Um, for me, I don't, me, I don't care. But Riley was slightly upset. One of the characters is like blatantly autistic, um, and she wasn't upset about it. She's like, that was just a bold choice for like a character because it's like him just freaking out like about
And Riley
autistic
just
stuff.
hates autistic people, so
She hates him. She's
she's
like, I can't believe we're even giving these people a space. Um, but anyway, overall good. I thought I'd like the Constantinople chapters the most because like that, that fascinates me, like the historical setting like that. And they were good, but they were honestly my least favorite. But overall,
wow.
solid book. It is a little bit longer though. It's like 650 pages. So I guess, and as I get further away, I gave it 5 stars, but I probably would give it 4. You know what I mean? But it was a good book. Like
Yeah.
I hadn't read a book like this in a long time. And dude, I will say, we said it at the top of this episode. Honestly, I'm proud, bro, that we're kind of branching out because we are like so who
Yeah.
we are. And so the fact that like reading this book did give me hope. I said it in my review that I put on Goodreads that like maybe I will enjoy some like modern or some mainstream like fiction, because I feel
Yeah.
like this book was pretty mainstream. Has a couple 100,000 reviews on
Yeah,
Goodreads.
dude, it's got 250,000 ratings.
Yeah.
That's
So I
crazy.
mean,
And
whereas
it's
we
only
don't,
4 years old.
yeah, a lot of the fantasy stuff we read, it's tough to get those numbers in the niche fantasy community. So
Well, dude, especially, and then you take it to, that nonfic I read, two nonfics in a row that I read had like less than 200 ratings on Goodreads. I
I
was
mean,
just like, man,
that's
people are going to be hyped to hear about this.
the way you do that is you're just a trailblazer. You're like and I love that. But
Yeah, but
anyway, but I could see us getting on a kick here, man. I actually really do enjoy it pairs well with how we've been reading a lot of nonfiction. I feel like it's just such
yeah, I
an
think
easy
so too.
crossover.
Well, that is what's fun. That's why Glorious Exploits and Augustus were so fun for me specifically. Less so with Glorious Exploits because I haven't read as much Greek specific
Greece,
history as I have Rome. But especially Augustus being the first Roman emperor, um, you know, I obviously am super into that. So it was really easy for me to enjoy these, but at the same time, I still think they're great books, even if you aren't into those things. I think there's still a lot here. Again, maybe a little less so for Augustus, even though I think it's the better book. There may be
yeah,
less there for some readers than Glorious Exploits, but Glorious Exploits I would recommend to really anyone. Like
yeah.
even if you're
It's
not into
so
history or historical fiction, it's so easy to read. And
agreed.
again, there's like whimsy and tragedy, so it kind of just hits everything you kind of want out of a book like this, at least in my opinion. Having read two entire historical fiction books, I now know what you want out of them as well. And Glorious Exploits brings it to the
Yeah,
table. um,
yeah. Well, it's a
but yeah, I mean,
single
what
POV.
other?
It's not that long. It's a
Yeah,
good pick. Like it meets a lot of things in the middle. Whereas Anthony Doerr's book, I don't want to say that title again. Old Cloud. It's five POVs, 660 pages. Like that's a tougher ask as well. So I would agree
yeah, that makes
with
sense.
with Worst Exploits.
What are some other historical fictions you think are you inspired to read other ones?
Yeah, so I mean, there's some obvious ones for us, which I hope that we get to. Like I'll mention, these are not like so. We each have two historical fictions that we want to do. I will say, Pillars of the Earth, I feel like has to
Yeah,
be up there. I mean, obviously that's an
yeah,
obvious one.
for
We
sure.
put that I think early in one of our videos at the beginning of the year of books that we maybe want to try and read.
Yeah, I mean, I've
Um,
owned that book for like 5 years at this
Same, dude.
point.
I've owned all three
Yeah, yeah,
for a
all
minute.
three of them. Yeah.
But something I came across recently, so I have two that are kind of more recent. One is by Sharon K. Penman. The first book is called When Christ and His Saints Slept. It's a part of the Plantagenets like series, and it's
Hmm,
AD 1135. And so it goes through King Henry the First is like the setting, and he's like
nice.
one of the main characters. So we read Henry the Fifth, who is 300 years or so before or after this, but that's kind of gotten me into the more
Hmm.
medieval era, I will say. And so this I think could be because, dude, and this like literally is fantasy, basically. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
most fantasy books are set in some medieval era. So
Yeah.
that's one that I've seen that it seems really interesting, mainly too because it's 5 books. So I
Hmm.
think it progresses in time to where one of them is literally called book 4 is called Lionheart, which is
Oh,
about
nice.
what's his face's dad, um,
Yeah.
the guy who I think he was his grandfather, maybe Henry V's grandfather. Anyway,
Yeah. Is
so
it
it just
Richard
follows
Lionheart?
along.
I can't remember.
Yes, yes, good pull, dude, good pull.
I could be
So
wrong.
anyway, that's like one that I've seen where it's like, okay, that would feel very. It was it's 17,000 rating, so I mean, it's not like unpopular by any means. It's not like massive, but 4.26 at least for the first book. It did come out in the 90s. 784 pages. I didn't realize that.
Oh,
That's
that's a
gonna be
thick
fun.
girl. Damn.
It is, but anyway, that's my first one. You throw one in there.
Mine's not super popular at all. It's called Vindolanda, or maybe it's Vindolanda. I'm not sure. It's the first in a historical fiction trilogy by Adrian Goldsworthy, who is most well known for his historical work, his nonfiction work. Most notably for me was Philip and Alexander, which is the most recent thing I've read by Adrian Goldsworthy. But he's written a lot of ancient history books, and he's really good, really well respected in that community. But he wrote this series set in Roman Britain in like AD 100 or a little bit
Oh,
before. So yeah, I mean, I don't even need to say much else about that. It's in that setting. It's written by a historian who is really great, whose work I've enjoyed nonfiction. I cannot imagine. Well, I shouldn't say that. Obviously, I'm sure it's possible that a great historian might not be great at writing fiction, but I have high hopes that he's probably really good at just about anything,
yeah.
especially when he has so much to pull from being an ancient historian. It's got less than 3,000 ratings, 4.0 flat out of 5 stars. Came out in 2017, so it's not really that old. Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into it. I have the first one, so might hit this at some point this year. But yeah,
How big is
Vindolanda.
it?
It's not as big as the one you were just referencing. It's 450 pages.
Okay, that's a little.
Yeah,
It's got a little thickness to it. This one that
yeah.
I'm about to mention now, dude, this series that this guy has is very fascinating to me. Like the way he does his books. The book that, if I'm going to read one first, the one that has at least the best rating, it's called New York. It's by Edward Rutherford. I'd never heard of it until I went to Books Million the other day and I saw a bunch of his books. Essentially, all his books are called like cities or like countries, and essentially what he does is, it kind of reminds me of what I haven't read Shogun, but like what I know about Shogun, it sounds similar. So essentially, he starts, I want to say like early like New York settlement and like just goes all the way through like the 1990s and like has all these different characters um
Mm,
like interwoven somehow and like actually tells like historical information about New York through, I think he uses like real characters too, like real people that were famous and influential in New York. Um so I've heard good, or like I once I like found this at Books a Million, Edward Rutherford, I kind of did a little deep dive into a bunch of his books because he has one on China that looks really good. He has one on England that's like really popular, one on Paris, one on Russia. So I mean, he literally just does
interesting.
it on these places and like kind of does the history, but through like a fictional story. Um, so anyway, they are thick though. They're all like standalones.
Mhm.
This was 862 pages, but
Good God.
anyway, I'm like, that just sounds like a very cool concept. Um, just kind of given some history, like it seems like very strongly influenced historical fiction, like at least
Yeah.
from the reviews and whatnot.
Interesting. I've never heard of these. I definitely wanna look into that. That's interesting. Old Rutherford.
Rutherford.
So yeah, the last one for me is a pretty, a pretty easy one, that everyone has heard of. I feel like a lot of people I know have read this and really enjoyed it. It is, of course, A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Amor Towels.
Dude, that name is
I need
tough.
more towels. I don't know. It's got 630,000 ratings, 4.32 out of 5 stars.
That's
Came
so
out in
many.
2016. Yeah, very very popular book. This guy did well off of this one. So yeah, I mean it's about a dude in Moscow, I reckon, probably at a time of upheaval if I had
I'm
to
gonna guess
guess. Oh yeah,
40s.
I mean 1922. So
Oh,
things are
okay.
getting things are pretty rough in 1922. And they stay rough for a while.
It's
Matter of
still
fact,
rough.
they had been rough for a while, and they still are rough. Ruska has been rough for a while, but yeah. So, A Gentleman in Moscow, I've heard great things. I would like to read it at some point. This is one of the few books that I like know I want to read that I don't own yet. I
I
just
could read
haven't
this book this year.
yanked it off Amazon as of yet.
Like that one could be one that I feel like we could sneak in. Because how long is that one? Does it say?
460 pages. I mean,
Oh, I thought it was a little bit smaller than that.
it's not a,
I
it ain't no bitch, you know.
it ain't. It ain't.
Good
It
word,
ain't.
Goodreads Choice Award.
It ain't.
So obviously, it's great.
We have to read it now. Let's go ahead and move
Right.
it up to the top of the list. Top of the
Um,
list. Yeah, but
So
I'm
yeah,
I'm
I
happy
mean,
with the historical fiction run we've had this year. I mean, I don't think I read a single. I can't even name another historical fiction book I've read before this. I
yeah,
read
no,
The
I definitely
Tattooist of
can't.
Auschwitz last year. But other than that,
Yeah,
it's all
I
about
can't.
all
If
I
I
got.
have, I can't think. Oh no, I'm an idiot. I've read Slaughterhouse 5 by Kurt Vonnegut.
Okay,
That's technically historical fiction. I mean, it for sure
isn't that
is.
like sci-fi?
Yeah, but it's like the idea is it's a dude during World War II who ends up being a prisoner of war in Dresden, like Kurt Vonnegut was
Okay,
when the fire bombs happened. But then he starts traveling through time like randomly. So like half the book he's in World War II, and other times he's doing other things. But yeah, no, I've enjoyed the historical fiction. It's definitely something I'll come back to periodically. You know, kind of like you said at the top, like it's kind of a palate cleanser. Feels like there's less pressure, you know, with a historical fiction
yeah.
to really lock in. You can kind of just enjoy it. But I do
It's more
enjoy
likely to
locking
be a
in, which is
standalone
why,
too. We read so many
yeah,
series when
yeah,
it comes to fantasy, so it's like you don't want to just get stuck again in like, we're 3 books into Wheel of Time and then it's like, "Oh, okay, we want to read Empire of Silence." Okay, "Oh, we want to
yeah, yeah. The will of the
read The
many, yeah,
Expanse." It's like, "All right,
yeah.
they're so long
I've
that
got
we
a
know they're
5 book
good."
series on ancient history that I got to read. Like I've
Yeah.
only read the first one. Come on, I mean,
So it's nice to
so
hop in and knowing like this is it. Like I only have to read this one and that's it.
yeah,
So,
yeah, for sure. So
yeah,
yeah, I've enjoyed it, but let us know what you think of these books if you've read them. If you have other historical fiction recommendations, we'd love to hear them.
I'd be curious to see what those are.
All right. Well, it's Book Reviews, the podcast where we discuss all things books, is out. Do not come back.
Don't come back, but happy 4th of July.